In 1890, trolley lines were being built in Manchester, Concord, Somersworth, and Dover. In 1891, the Chester businessmen got together and discussed the possibility of running a trolley line between Derry and Chester. One of the corporate officers, storekeeper Arthur Wilcombe, found it difficult to sell the trolley stock. A street railroad promoter of Brookline, Massachusetts, came to the company's rescue. He is the one who had built the trolley lines in Dover and Somersworth. He offered to build the Chester-Derry line for $100,000, half in stock and half in bonds. It must have all gone well because in November, Chester lumbermen were hired to cut 14,000 chestnut ties on which to lay the rails. In 1896, 75 Italian workers were brought to Chester to begin the construction. Local men were also hired to draw the ties and the 500,000 pounds of steel rail. Another 75 construction workers were put on the Derry end. Poles were erected to carry the 14 tons of copper wire that would power the trolley. In August, the Italian workers were laid off due to a shortage of iron rail. When the missing rails did show up, the job of laying the tracks was given to local men. The main obstacle along the route was the dip in the road between Chester Center and Bell Hill. A 400-foot-long wooden trestle was built that was raised up 25 feet off the ground. A 35 by 56-foot car barn was built at Wilcombe's store. A couple of wait stations were built along its road. This is a photo of Chester Hotel, which was located where the Hardy poultry barns are now on Derry Road. This hotel burned in 1923. The trolley stop was saved, and it can be seen at the fire department. Just recently, I realized there were no markings on the trolley stop at all, and this sign is going to be placed so that people know what this building is today. The cool carvings with initials and dates are inside of the trolley stop. Steph Landau told me that this was placed at the fire department with a roof built over it for protection as an Eagle Scout project. He told me somewhere in these carvings is Muriel Church's initials. I wonder if the AW is Arthur Wilcombe. The next photo, which is a map of the trolley route, has marked on it Town Hall. This actually is Stevens Hall. The total route was 7.75 miles in length. As you can see from this photo, the trolley route stopped before it got to Chester Street, and it went behind the town hall and into the trolley barn down by Wilcombe's store. The average speed was under 10 miles per hour. Power was provided by electricity from the generators of the Derry Electric Company on Maple Street in Derry. Each car was manned by both a motorman and a conductor. The first paying customer was dairy factory owner Benjamin Chase, the son of Chester historian Benjamin Chase, which I spoke about in my last video as being Chester's biggest abolitionist. His son, Benjamin Chase Jr., paid $1 for tickets for 14 neighborhood children and himself to ride from Derry Depot to Beaver Lake. This trip took 25 minutes for a 3.5-mile ride. The first repeat paying riders were a number of young ladies who began to commute to Pinkerton Academy as soon as the line was up and running. This trolley now allowed many women and men to go to Derry to find employment. There were several shoe factories in Derry, and this was a great opportunity for them to make more money, as Chester did not have hardly any commercial at all in town. There was a late car if a special event was taking place, such as a school activity, a theater show, or sports event. How brave they were going over the trestle bridge. The Beaver Lake Pavilion was a great moneymaker for the trolley. Once at Beaver Lake, you could swim or go inside the pavilion, which had a dance floor, a bowling alley, a snack bar, and even a souvenir stand that sold bathing suits and towels and postcards. It had a small zoo featuring a dancing bear and tame deer. Inside the pavilion were also 40 gambling slot machines. The pavilion burnt down in 1915. The weather was a continual problem for the trolley company. A good northeaster would put the trolley out of commission for days. In March of 1923, 100 men shoveled 4 miles of snow to clear the track in temperatures that fell between minus 30 degrees. The women of the town prepared a bean supper for these men. The trolley began hauling freight. The first boxcar to arrive to Chester came in October in 1896, carrying 10 tons of store inventory to Charles Wilkins' store, which is now Jerome Gessel's home. During this first month, 500 bushels of apples traveled on the trolley into Derry. In 1917, more than 100 cans of milk were carried daily. At the turn of the century, many homes turned into inns, such as my home, which is Lock Haven Inn. The owners of suitcases traveling on the trolley were charged a dime if they were handled by the conductor. After the First World War, the trolley began losing money. A number of paying customers declined for a number of reasons. These were the years of the automobile. Even Arthur Wilcombe, who was the trolley line's chief supporter, bought an automobile in 1908. This is a photo of Arthur Wilcombe and his wife. By 1920, Chester residents were driving by auto to Florida and California for vacations. During one ice storm that winter, cars couldn't make it up Bell Hill on the way to Derry, but the little trolley could. The end came in the spring of 1928. The trolley would be very much missed. The auction of the property occurred on August 29, 1928. Arthur Wilcombe bought the Chester car barn next to his store for $650. The poles in Chester were bought by the Chester Telephone Company, which Arthur Wilcombe was president of. When the trolley closed in 1928, the Checker Company provided bus service to Chester. Here is a photo, shows locals who are being driven to Boston to see the movie The King of Kings.